agreement. And as a result, New Jersey's first rail strike in decades has officially come to an end. Starting Tuesday, May 20th, NJ Transit will once again provide rail service to the more than 100,000 riders who depend on it every single day. And I think Chris will give you a little bit more color as to why Tuesday. But it's completely understandable. To offer the understatement of the year, this is a very good outcome. But it is also one that was far from inevitable. So first and foremost, I want to thank the guy to my right, the exceptional President and CEO, NJ Transit, Chris Calori, along with his entire extraordinary team, many of whom are represented with us today. This is a team sport, and it doesn't, as good as this guy is, it does not get done without extraordinary efforts by this group to my left and their colleagues. They have poured hour after countless hour into reaching an agreement that is both fair to NJ Transit's employees while also being affordable for our state's commuters and taxpayers. And they have proven once again why New Jersey is the quintessential organized labor state. Even in the midst of a seemingly intractable situation, Chris and his colleagues never gave up on providing our locomotive engineers the raises they have earned, while also ensuring that our public transit system remains accessible and affordable. Now, I am not going to dive into the specifics of the agreement at this moment. Instead, let me simply offer my deepest gratitude again to Chris, his colleagues, along with the BLET's representatives who came back to the table to seal the deal. This is a very good day for New Jersey. And the sound that you probably hear is the sound of our state's commuters breathing a collective sigh of relief. So now it's time to get NJ Transit back to full speed for our commuters and riders and to continue building on our progress in fixing NJ Transit for the thousands upon thousands of New Jerseyans who rely on it every single day. And thank you. With that, please help me welcome this week's MVP, the CEO of NJ Transit, Chris Calori. Chris, congratulations.
Thank you, Governor. Thank you so much, Governor. I want to first thank you for your extraordinary leadership. We would not be here but for your calm wisdom and direction as we were in the negotiating room. I've talked to you more than you probably want to talk to me over the last several weeks, but I particularly want to thank your senior staff as well. They were available to us day and night, many times in the middle of the night when we needed direction, and they gave it, and I'm grateful for them too. To the men and women of New Jersey Transit, the governor mentioned it, but let me just take a minute to say, you saw hundreds of our colleagues at rail stations and various places throughout the strike to give our commuters who are in a very difficult moment, and we understand it, to make sure they had the right direction and they had help when they needed it. But I also want to recognize the thousands of our staff members who are invisible to the outside world, but were working hundreds of hours collectively to make sure we positioned our pre-strike events correctly, and they will now help us get the rails ready for opening on Tuesday. The deal, as the governor correctly said, was fair and fiscally responsible. I think I've said it over 1,000 times now that we have always sought just that it was a deal that had to be both, not just one. I want to thank Tom Haas, the general chairman of BLET, and Mark Wallace, the president of the International, for negotiating with us in good faith to get us to this point. I think we are particularly gratified that we were able to find a solution that meets the needs of the customers and our employees, and more importantly than all of it, the taxpayers of New Jersey. The deal itself reflects a series of concessions that came together by way of a work rule that will eventually end up paying for this fair wage that the unions have asked for. And I am so pleased that that effort did not go unrewarded, and that's why we are here today. I won't get into any more details because it would not be right. I think it is now the union's job to go back and brief their members and put the agreement up for a ratification vote. I want to just briefly talk about our plan going forward. Tomorrow morning, we will implement our contingency plan that we had in place for buses. That means our train lines will not still work. They will start working Tuesday morning, as the governor said. But what we will spend tomorrow doing is make sure all our 4 park and rides that we talked about and our supplemental bus service we've talked about, they will all be operational along with our light rails. The one favor that our riders can do for us one more time is if you can work from home, please do that tomorrow so we can move essential employees through the system and for their place of work for one day, and Tuesday morning we'll be back in business. I also want to remind our riders that Amtrak, PATH, the ferries, and the light rail all continue to work just as they've been doing since Friday. And let me finally thank the 350,000 riders to whom we are so grateful, because we understand that the strike, just like it was not of our choosing, it was not of their choosing, but they really gave us the space to do our job and to make sure we do it as well as we could under the circumstance. I promise you, we are now going to work from tonight till Tuesday morning to get the rails operational so we can get everybody back to a sense of normalcy. Governor, thank you again.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, man. And reiterate one point you made in particular. If both employers and employees tomorrow could please give us one more day of work from home, that would be a huge, huge boost. The park and ride locations are Secaucus, PNC Bank Arts Center, Woodbridge, and Hamilton. Those are the 4 big ones, and details on all of the above can be found on NJ Transit's website. Take any quick questions if you have them, please.
We have been here before. What makes it different this time in terms of the members ratifying this time?
Yeah, I don't want to speak for the union, obviously, and I'm thankful it takes, yeah, we have to pass the mic. Martell, is that you? Nice to see you, kiddo. So the question was, why is it different this time? What has changed such that we think that the union would go ahead and ratify it? I don't want to speak for the union. I do want to thank them again for coming back into the table with Chris. And the National Mediation Board was there today as well, and we want to give them a shout out and thanks. Again, I'll let Chris answer as it relates to the details, but there's a real feeling that we landed in a really good place. You could argue we thought that before, I understand that, but this time it really does feel that way on both sides of the table. Again, I can't speak for the union, nor would I attempt to, but I'd say based on our side of the table, a high degree of confidence this will sail. But Chris, I'd ask you to put any color on that.
Sure. The way I would answer is, look, the past is the past. But I think we learned some important lessons on what the membership wanted. And I think the union this time did a really good job of clarifying, if you will, their positions. And in these negotiations, we were able to go point by point. In addition to the broader issue of fair wages, we were able to go point by point and talk about some of those provisions that they cared about. And I think we were able to address to the satisfaction of them, and equally important, the taxpayers of New Jersey.
This is all subject to an NJ Transit Board approval as well. So both of those, when we say tentative, that's subject to both the union's ratification and NJ Transit's board.
How are taxpayers affected? How will it affect the taxpayers?
Yeah, the taxpayer, for my humble opinion, is a winner here, because Chris was able to land. We've been pounding away on this point. It has to be fair for the locomotive engineers, but it also has to be fiscally acceptable to NJ Transit, and indirectly, therefore, for taxpayers. This is you may have heard me talk last Thursday night about a range between something that we could manage our way through that was single-digit millions or maybe double-digit millions of an impact versus nine-figure impact. And we were able to land, I should say we, Chris and his team were able to land this in the right neighborhood as it relates to taxpayers and the fiscal question. Anything you want to add to that? Are you good? Mark,
Hello.
nice to see you,
Hey,
buddy.
how are you?
Long
Good to see you.
time.
How much will this strike cost New Jersey Transit?
Chris, I don't have it off
Yeah.
the top of my head.
We had estimated it to be $4 million a day. So, look, and I want to say this to you. Money is a very important metric, as the governor said. He and I are almost obsessed with how much we spend on these kinds of things. But our first priority was to make sure we provided the service the commuters expected. And I think we did that. And now we will spend a look at what we've spent and true up our expenditures and see where we go.
You know, we talked about Friday's commute when we were anticipating it Thursday night. We also were in the midst of Shakira 1, and we had both Shakira 1 and 2 quite successfully executed. And I want to again give Chris and the whole team a huge shout out for that. Sir, sorry, we got to bring the microphone over to you.
Thank you. You know, we have been hearing over the last couple of days that from both sides that you all were close. You know, there's maybe a little disagreement. I know you guys don't want to go into details about the deal, but could you, you know, give us an idea of some of the hurdles you guys were able to overcome, you know, even if vaguely?
Yeah, just as a general comment, I'll ask Chris to come in on more specifics. We were close. We were close Thursday night. I think we mentioned that. But we couldn't get that second objective met on Thursday night. And the fiscally responsible element of this, and again, thanks to Chris and his great team, we were able to, over those 72 hours, run that to ground. But Chris, why don't you jump in with any other details?
I'd say, look, these agreements are inherently very complex, right? It's not just we present sort of the headline of fair wages and fiscally responsible, but informing those two principles are extraordinarily complex set of provisions that have to make sense, not just for today, but for the future. So, frankly, it's just a lot of it is going through line by line, word for word, to make sure that everybody's intent is correctly captured and reflects what we wanted to come out of it.
Thank you. Ma'am.
Hi, Christy.
Martel, you should consider Cirque du Soleil, by the way, after these press conferences.
Need like a pillow. And yeah, just wanted to make sure, just because I know people will be frustrated, they're just like, oh my God, why can't the trains just be running already? Any sort of explanation just as to what's going to be happening over the next 24 hours? You said starting tonight into Tuesday, and anything about cross-honoring? Just want to make sure no.
So when you hear some of the reasons why, you're going to understand, you and I hope the folks out there listening will understand this is the right, sensible plan, but Chris will walk you through some of that.
Sure. Look, from the very start, we've tried to be calm, methodical about everything we did. Planning for the strike, executing our plan during the strike, and now coming back into service. There are several things that have to happen in order to make sure the railroad works properly. We have to pre-position the equipment. We have to do safety checks. We have to make sure that the engineers who now have officially concluded the strike or soon to conclude the strike are now called into work, and to make sure that they are now, their schedules are all matched up with where they need to go. This is an extraordinarily complex operation. We run hundreds of trains a day, and so we have to make sure all the equipment is where it needs to be, all the safety inspections have been done, all the track inspections have been done. So one thing that we will not do, and I'm so glad the governor trusts us to execute this in the way that we think is appropriate. We will never compromise the safety of our riders. For us, it is better to get it right and do it methodically than to rush and try to meet some artificial deadline and get it wrong. And we will not do that.
Amen. It's also worth noting in the post-COVID world, we're not making light of anybody's commuter headaches because we feel their pain. Monday is the second lightest day after Friday. So getting ourselves organized for the big three, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, is another element here. Sir.
What was the moment like when you realized you had found common ground?
Good question. I will tell you, we were communicating almost every minute, and it was a great feeling for me. I can only imagine how it was for Chris.
Well, when I called the governor first and told him that I just signed, and I think both of us were, to say the least, very happy, and I may have shed a tear.
We'll leave it at that. We all good? Again, deep thanks, everybody, for coming out on short notice on a Sunday night, no less. This is a good result for labor. It's a good result for NJ Transit. It's a good result for our commuters and taxpayers. Chris, congratulations again to you and your team, to the union representatives as well at BLET, and we'll see you out there on the rails and buses. Thank you all. Congrats. Chris.